Okay, today I thought it would be fun if we went over the experimental card changes that are going to be live from March 22nd to March 29th, where they collected a group of, to use the correct academic term, turbo nerds, to get a bunch of opinions on balance changes. And then we're going to get them for like a week, and then there's going to be a Wii tournament on the last 2 days of it. And some of the changes, it'd be pretty sick if they actually got put on the live. It probably won't, but it would be pretty sick if they did. I thought it'd be fun to go over them. Let's go over them now. First off, Anna. Nano boost can be used by hitting the interact key, used on Anna. And max ammo increased by 2. So here's the problem, right? People have been petitioning for this change literally since Anna got launched. Not in this exact iteration with the interact key, but people have wanted this since Anna got added to the game in 2016. If they were gonna do it, they would have done it by now. So it's probably not gonna happen. But, 2 ammo could happen, That's a realistic change. Similarly realistic, dynamite damage reduced from 100 to 90. Dynamite's way too strong. I'd be fully into this change. I'd go harder. I'd probably go 80 or 75, actually. But 10's a start. 10's something. We'll take something. Baptiste. Regenerative burst does less. Immortality field no longer reduces you to 20% health. It reduces you to 1 health. I'm fully into that as well, because to be honest with you, I hate the lamp as a concept. So if we could just get it out, I'm okay with that. This serves the same effective thing of being useful for saving people, But it's not just as ubiquitously strong, right? If you were 1 health, you're alive. That's the important thing, It's just easier to kill you once I've broken the lamp. So I'm big into that change, absolutely. Bastion slower while using self-repair. Seems like a highly realistic change for them to add, but also almost entirely meaningless if we're being honest at the same time. Bastions frequently do die while trying to heal and run away anyway. Or they die because they're sat in turret form trying to heal themselves and die anyway. So this is a change that would affect essentially nothing, but would be nice, because, look, we can all be honest with each other, okay? We can be honest. We all hate Bastion, and we all know we hate Bastion. So if we nerf him, who cares, right? The Baptiste, the regenerative burst also, very realistically could happen. I would be astonished if they added the immortality field change. Inspire on Bridget, healing to teammates removed when Bridget is eliminated. Makes perfect sense. I'd be fine with that. Seems strange that she's still inspiring people while she's dead. But, they love nerfing Bridget. So this one's very realistic. Extremely likely. Booster duration increased by 1 second on Diva. Yeah, they'd probably do that. Doomfist, no changes. Extremely disheartened that they aren't just toying with the idea of deleting Doomfist entirely, as I've been petitioning for since Doomfist's inclusion. Maybe one day, but today is not that day. Echo, duplicate. When ultimate ends, Echo will be healed to half health instead of full. People also have wanted this change for a while as well. Seems realistic. I don't know why Echo gets to heal to full health. Especially since a lot of Echoes use it to panic save themselves as well. It seems strange to reward them for that, Anyway, yeah, I'd be down with that. Seems realistic also, people want it. So, here, there's a change. This is one of the changes where I'd be pretty astonished if they did add it. Alternate fire spread reduced from 9 to 8 meters. That could happen. Sure, whatever. Why not? Dragonblade, when Genji gets a kill during his ultimate, the duration is increased by 1 second. So, to be honest with you, right, to be 100% with you, this makes perfect sense for them to add this, because Genji's already kind of about doing things when he kills people, right? Dash resetting on kills and assists is huge. It's pretty integral to Genji as a whole. So, this makes perfect sense as an inclusion to Dragonblade. But also, simultaneously, I do hate it and want it to get out of my face. Genji is also terrible, so I guess we can buff him. That's alright, you know, I guess. But I do also hate it and want it to get out of my face. Hanzo, Dragon Strike, movement speed increased by 20%, damage increased by 20%. I'd be pretty surprised if either of these things happened. Distance before the dragon forms from the arrow shot lowered from 10 meters to 5 meters. Yes, absolutely. How many times have you seen Hanzo try to ult his ult into a graviton, but he's too close to the graviton? So the dragon is just perfectly starting right where the graviton ends, and he hits nobody with it. There's realistically no reason for it to be this way. I would go further, in fact, and I would say that if the arrow from the Dragon Strike hits somebody, it should instantly form into the dragon from that point, rather than needing a set distance at all. Like, it should have the set distance, maybe just say it's 10 meters anyway, but if the arrow physically hits somebody, the dragon starts there. That's what I'd do, but also just reducing it by 5 meters is fine. That's also okay. I'd be pretty surprised if they don't with 20% on the two other things, though, to be honest. Junkrat, Concussion Mine, damage increased by 5. Minimum damage increased by 5, I should say. Yeah, whatever, sure, cool. Soundwave, cooldown increased by 2 seconds. Seems realistic, pretty likely. I'd be surprised if this change happens, but I am also fully in favor of it. Crossfade, radius increased by 50%. Effectiveness is increased by 20% at close range, falling off to minus 50% at max range. I am fully in support of that, because the original radius on Crossfade was way too big, and the effect was so minor as to basically be like, who gives a fuck, you know? Other than move speed is always nice to have, you know? So this, but at the same time, I think the current radius is like too small. So I would be in favor of increasing it, but then also just making it scale based off of distance to Lucio. Makes perfect sense to me. I'd be fully in favor of this change. But I'd also be pretty surprised if they actually put that change in the game. The knockback seems pretty realistic, though. McCree, no changes. I agree. McCree right now, for what he is, I think is pretty much perfect. Mei, maximum ammo increased by 20. People would hate that, but I'm also fully in favor of that. I think Mei's ammo is quite restrictive right now, but people also hate Mei, so they don't. I also don't know that they'd do it, because it's kind of like, you know, when they buff Bridget, they immediately undo that. Remember when they gave Bridget 25 health and they took it back almost within 24 hours, you know? I feel like this would end up going a similar way. So, you know, maybe. It's right at the cusp of possibility, I feel, just because of the perception people have of Mei. Mercy, I don't like this. Killing blows reset Guardian Angel cooldown. This is encouraging the exact wrong behavior from people. I'll also connect this back to the Ana change as well, with Nano boosting yourself. I think it encourages the kind of behavior that we shouldn't be encouraging. So I don't like that. Simultaneously, I think that this would be so inconsequential overall balance-wise as to be basically meaningless, but I feel it could have a profound effect on how people started playing Mercy, and I don't like the way that would go. Moira, no changes. Pretty much agree. I don't really have any issue with Moira right now. Orisa, protective barrier, health increased by 100, cooldown increased by 1 second. A minor enough change that I don't really care overall, but Blizzard seems pretty adverse to buffing shields, so seems pretty unlikely at the same time. They live in constant fear of the shield meta returning, despite its constant threats to do so. You know, they live in constant fear of it. So no, I kind of don't think they would, even though the overall difference is so minor. It seems unlikely to make any difference to Orisa's balance at all. They just, you know, they probably wouldn't. Pharah, new passive, damage taken while airborne decreased by 5%, damage taken while grounded increases by 10%. I like that conceptually a lot. It makes it so she's not as shut out by, like, snipers, which is nice, you know? Because a real good sniper makes life very difficult for Pharah. It's not a complete wash, despite what some people might tell you, but it's certainly upsetting. So I like it that it's overall, the difference is very minor, so it wouldn't make much real difference, other than it's harder for her to instantly die when she does stuff in the air, which is, I think, good. I would like this. It also encourages the kind of gameplay you want to see from Pharah, right? This is one of those changes that would, like, I feel, push people to play Pharah in an overall beneficial way, without really making a massive difference balance-wise. You know, guiding people in gameplay is nice. Reaper, also, I doubt it, but at the same time, I could see them doing it. I could see it. I'm right at the border, I feel, of that ability. Reaper, Shadow Step voice line removed. Yes, please, God. It used to be so fucking loud, dude. Dude, do you remember how loud Shadow Step's voice line used to fucking be? Oh my God, the second Reaper touched that button, you fucking knew, the whole fucking map knew what Reaper was doing. So, like, thank God it's quieter. Just take it out altogether. Why does he do this? Reaper's meant to be, like, kind of a sneaky character, so it kind of seems weird that he loudly announces his presence when he does this, you know? And, like, it still makes a noise, right? You can still hear the sound effect. It's just he doesn't also loudly announce his presence. So I'm in favor of this, wholly. And I feel, at the same time, it's one of those changes where I feel like if they were gonna do it, they would have done it by now. But hey, you know. Maybe. Reinhardt, Earth Shatter, stuns closer to the target up to 3 seconds. Maximum range stunned for the normal 2.5 seconds. Big fan. Absolutely. Let's go. 100%. Let's reward you for stunning people point blank. It's just one of those things that seems like it should make sense that it happens, you know? Overall, balance-wise, I feel like it doesn't actually affect him. But, makes perfect sense. I mean, it would affect him balance-wise. 0.5 seconds is a lot longer than you think it is. But also, like, it just makes sense. Like, let's do that. Roadhog, no changes. I would prefer if he could just, like, reliably one-shot people if he hooks them, like, no questions asked. I want them to do the thing where they... Because the fear is that if you buff his left click to the point where he can one-shot people easily, he just starts bullying everybody, you know? Like, he starts bullying other tanks a lot. We saw this happen, in fact. So what I want is for them to shift some of the damage from his left click onto his hook instead. Make the hook do, like, 50 damage, and then nerf the damage on his left click so that he can just, like, one-shot somebody if he hooks them without assistance. Like, easy, 100% of the time. I think he should be rewarded for it. If he hooks a squishy target, I think he should be able to kill them. But I don't think he should be able to bully around the whole cast, no questions asked, so move the damage from his left click onto his hook. Seems like that solves the problem to me. But no changes is also fine, I guess. Sigma, no changes. I want him to be able to move his shield easier. I think that the restriction is pointless and makes him just feel extremely clunky to play. I don't even feel like it makes difference balance-wise, I just think it makes him feel awkward, and I don't like that. But I guess no changes is fine. Also, you know, he's pretty much fine, if we're being honest. It just bothers me. Soldier, big plays. Helix Rocket, hold 2 charges, but they do less damage overall, and he does less damage to himself. Big fan. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that. I have nothing else to say. I just think that's a fantastic change. It makes perfect sense. Let him have 2 Helix Rockets. Make him do less damage. Absolutely. Then you get to do overall more DPS by just keeping the cooldown ticking. Great times. Good times. Absolutely. Let's do it. 100%. They probably won't. To be honest, I can't imagine them making a change that big to Helix Rocket. But simultaneously, I never would have expected them to reduce the spread on his left, or to remove the spread on his left click rather and add recoil, but they did that, so who knows? Maybe. I think that we should 100%. Sombra hack activation time increased by a fucking lot. Duration increased by a second as compensation. This is fair, obviously. Translocator cooldown triggered when used or destroyed as it used to be and is reduced from 6 seconds to 5 seconds. Sure, no problem with that. This is way too fucking excessive. Sombra is already, like, this is a change that exists, like, purely for the highest end of the player base and nobody else. Sombra is already hard to play and, like, requires teamwork to get anything out of. She is consistently seen as, by the overall community, as a throw pick. When people see people pick Sombra, they assume they're throwing. This is not something that Sombra needs to have happen to her. She would very swiftly become one of the worst heroes in the entire game. Easily F tier. Terrible, hate it, get it out of my face. But, to be honest, they'll probably do it. Because people just don't like playing against Sombra. Which I understand, but, like, come on, dude. Like, give her something. Like, here's the thing. I think Sombra as a character is an unrepentant failure. I think that she does not meet the fantasy that the character is meant to evoke, the hacker fantasy. I don't think she does it. People don't like playing against it. People don't like playing with it. Like, people love Sombra aesthetically, right? Like, Sombra is a pretty popular character. But as her gameplay is, I think it's a complete failure. I think we should completely rework the hero. I don't know what we'd do to her, to be fair. I don't know how we capture this hacker fantasy in a game like Overwatch. Maybe just some kind of, like, damage amplification. Like Zenyatta, basically. But stronger and, like, but more restrictive on how you use it. Because we can't do something like takes control from the character, right? So when I think hacker, I think like disabling, taking control, or just like crippling, right? So maybe just make the hack some kind of big debuff, like damage amplification by like, I don't know, 33%, but it's got like a long cooldown. Maybe you need to channel it or something pretty long to get it on or something instead. I don't know, something like that, maybe instead. And just, like, give her a better gun. Just make her more functional in overall combat, you know? Which she is, to be fair. It's just that Sombra's skill floor is so high that Sombra's got a lot of problems. I think we should scrap the whole thing and start again, is basically the gist. Maybe we keep Translocator. This is the thing with stealth characters, though, you know? In, like, every single game a stealth character is in, multiplayer game, I should say, like, the stealth character is either completely overpowered, this was the case in, what's that dead game called? Dirty Bomb. They added the stealth samurai character to that game, and he was extraordinarily overpowered. Or the character is just completely worthless. We have seen Sombra generally hover around that level. I think stealth in, like, multiplayer games is just so hard to balance that we might as well not bother. League of Legends also has had several stealth characters, and they've all been complete disasters. Stealth itself got completely reworked, and I still think it's terrible, to be honest with you. It's just one of those mechanics that, like, people expect to see in a game somewhere, but, like, it just doesn't seem to work. Anyway, moving on. Symmetra, travel speed on turrets increased, by the way, probably will happen, if we're being honest, but, like, fuck it. Travel time increased, or travel speed increased from 50 meters to 20 meters per second. They're so fucking slow. Like, they're really fucking slow. I'm in favor of it. I could see this being put in. It seems pretty realistic. Torbjorn. Now, I don't know about this one. I'm mixed on this one. Can hold 2 turrets. Damage and health of the turrets reduced by 40%. I don't know. I feel like Torbjorn's turret is pretty trash. I would like a different turret altogether, to be honest. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't really have a constructive opinion about it either, though, at the same time. So I guess this is fine, sure. But this is what, like, perhaps the change I'd be the most astonished if they actually added to the game. Tracer, health increased from 150 to 175, and recall cooldown increased from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. So here's gonna be my hot take, right? You ready for this one? If they made Tracer's health 200, I wouldn't be mad. I feel like 175 is definitely fine, but I think she could be 200 health. I think it is way too easy for Tracer right now to just randomly die from basically nothing happening. Like, Overwatch is a really fast game. You can just end up just, like, walking into any number of things that, like, you couldn't have realistically kept track of, or you were just unlucky, and you just randomly died. Now, you could say, fairly, that that's just the nature of, like, this kind of character. She's meant to be a complete glass cannon. And I understand, which is why I would be fine with 175. But to be honest, I wouldn't be mad if she had 200 health. But 175 is fine. I like the change. I don't think they'll add this change. I'd be really surprised. Tracer as a character, they're, like, terrified to make balance changes too. She's had so few balance changes across the life of the game. Like, it's incredible. It was news when she actually received a balance change when they nerfed the damage on Pulse Bomb. Like, that was a news article. That's how surprising it was. They adjusted the balance of Tracer. So I don't think that they would do this, because this is a pretty dramatic change. Like, 25 health is not nothing, you know? It's an amount of health where you'd go, like, whatever, who cares? Right? It's like old Symmetra's E. But, like, 75 health is kind of a lot. I'd be very surprised if they made a balance change this dramatic to Tracer. But I wouldn't be mad if she had 200 health. That's my hot take. Widowmaker, Venom Mime. Damage increased to 120. Duration changed from 5 to 6. And trigger radius from 3 to 4. I have no opinion about this change. You can do whatever you want to Venom Mine, I feel like, and I wouldn't really care. It's just an ability that I have, like, zero opinion of, to be honest. Winston, armor increased by health. Armor increased by 15 and health reduced by 15. Total pool is the same. Yeah, whatever, sure. Feel free. I feel almost insulted that they included this in the notes, to be honest. Like, Winston might as well have said no changes as far as I'm concerned. That's my thinking of this. This is the change I would be the most surprised if they added. Wrecking Ball size reduced by 15%. I cannot imagine ever reading in the patch notes that a character's size has been reduced. It just seems so utterly beyond whatever they'd add. I can't imagine it. For the record, I'd be down, but I also can't imagine it. This is likely to go along with the other change here, but also ammo reduced from 80 to 70. I don't really care, but brief thing, it should be more obvious when Hammond has finished reloading while he's in ball form. There should be like an indicator around his reticle while he's in ball form that denotes the reloading progress. Just brief aside, I don't really care if they reduce it by 10. I just think it should be more obvious when he's done reloading. Grappling Claw cooldown increased from 5 to 7. I think so. I think Grappling Hook's cooldown is pretty ridiculous. I'd be okay with splitting the difference to 6, you know? Just something, basically. An Adaptive Shield no longer prevents enemies from gaining ultimate charge. Now, if we're being realistic, he'd be unplayable. Like, he'd start feeding so fucking hard if Adaptive Shield stopped enemies from generating ult charge. Maybe reduced, maybe 50% ult charge while Adaptive Shield is on. I think no longer prevents from generating ult charge, makes him unplayable. He would start feeding so fucking hard. And hand players are already good at feeding, right? This would be way, way, way too much. Maybe 50%, you know? And this is obviously going along with the 15% reduced size. If he's 15% smaller in, you know, pretty big change overall, it's harder to get ult charge off of him because he's not so big. Okay, sure, you know, I guess. But, like, come on. No longer prevents? That's way too much, dog. He'd be ridiculously helpful to the enemy team at that point. It's gotta be reduced at most, as far as I'm concerned. I think these two are pretty realistic. I doubt either of these two would ever happen, though. They seem so dramatic, I can't imagine it. Sorry, a protective barrier range increased from 30 meters to 34 meters. That's so specific that it makes me want to watch the whole video just so I can hear the context around that discussion, because this seems like such a specific change, you know? But I'm also not inclined to do that because the video is pretty fucking long. And but like, sure, you know, whatever. Go for it. To be honest, it could be 50 meters and I wouldn't care. Go for it. Whatever, to be honest. And Zenyatta, the last one, Transcendent speed multiplier increased from 2 times to 2.3. Yeah, Overwatch is a fast game. Let's have them go faster. I'm down with it. So that's all the changes. I think a fair few of them are pretty realistic because they aren't dramatic changes, you know, like Bastion, D.Va, Bridget, half of Baptiste, Ashe. These all seem realistic to have added to the game, but some of them it's like, if they were gonna do it, they would have done it by now, or the change is way too dramatic, or like, in the case of like Tracer, it just goes completely against everything they've ever done with the character, which is like not changer, you know? So, and some of them are still pretty dramatic, but I can see happening just because of the way they treat the character at the same time, right? Sombra got done dirty, is the moral of the story. Yeah, so, you know, if you're interested in the changes, then you get a week. You get a week of them not being in the actual game. And that's pretty tight. We can only hope that some of them will happen, because overall, like, I think it's undeniable that if they added this whole set of changes unedited, it'd be better for the game overall. You know, I think that's pretty much undeniable, despite what your opinion on some of the changes may be. Like, changes on this level would be good. Like, some actual fucking balance changes. Finally, some actual balance changes. But, I don't know. Look, by the time Overwatch 2 comes out, if we're being honest, Overwatch is gonna be, like, essentially dead. It's been so long. It's been so fucking long since they added any content to this game. They took, like, a third of the maps they added into the game out of the game, effectively. Because they were terrible, if we're being fair. But, you know, they've taken a lot of content out. There's been a really long period of having no content. And the content that they're going to add is, when it eventually comes out 7 years from now, is overall cosmetic and going to be extraordinarily disappointing to people. I hate to break this to you. When you get to play an Overwatch story mode, your opinions of it are going to be that it was a 5 out of 10 experience at best. That's the most you can ask for from an Overwatch story. But, so, that's my other hot take, I guess. But, like, these characters, they're not deep enough to have, like, a rich narrative around. I'm sorry to tell you this. Anyway, so let me know what you think about the changes. I'd be interested to hear about how you all think I'm mad for having Tracer have 200 health. But you all can fight me, you cowards.